Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's FailRace episode with Unpoisoned SXE on GTA 5 and the Dukes of Death, a rather unstoppable force, shall we say. Although, of course, being a FailRace episode, yep, there's always a way to stop the unstoppable force, and apparently that is 2 metal gates. Yes, if you hit these at high speed, the game might decide you should be very, very wedged. Gates are sometimes difficult to negotiate. There is a little bit of shuffling around and eventually the car does work itself free, but it turns out Dukes of Death loses 2 large iron gates. Nareth is up next, driving the microlight. Well, I say driving and slightly flying and a little bit in a tree. Trying to get to a clothes shop in a roundabout sort of a way. Get there in the end, made it to the car park. However, as they went to park the microlight, the AI... well, they had other ideas here. Yes, this particular spot was wanted by an AI photo that decided said microlight should explode. That is some commitment to a parking spot. I think the photo set itself on fire and all of that as well. Rusty Drifter up next on GTA 5, minding their own business, driving down the motorway, watching the distance on the other side of the carriageway when a vehicle I think it spawns in the air and just gets fired at the central reservation and goes for a big old roll, loses all of its doors as well. Good old AI. Mr. Payne, up next on GTA 5, has managed, they've got a pickup truck on the back of a sort of tow truck. The problem is when you go to now take the pickup truck off the back of the tow truck, well, the game physics gets angry and somehow kills the player. Note it doesn't explode anything. I thought it initially exploded, but didn't explode anything. Just killed the player on its own. Never seen that one before. Kit's up next, finding the FailRace Police Department at their very, very best. Yes, that is a player trying to get away from a wanted level, and the police just not seeing the bright purple railgun tank. I mean, this is not a subtle vehicle, this. I wouldn't be able to sneak around the city and survive the hunt with it, yet apparently slightly over a barrier, and the AI are confused. Welsh Toast is up next with all sorts of chaos. Now, we have seen this sort of chaos occur a few times, where GTA gets confused about spawning stuff in and just kind of throws vehicles around, but I have never seen it to this extent, especially considering we're spawning in buses and taco vans onto this lot. I mean, there's the taco vans one after the other. Somehow the one that fell off the top still has its sign. I feel like that is rather wrong. More and more vehicles are being thrown. I mean, there's 4 taco vans in this particular stretch. There's another one. Has just... oh, and there's another if you want tacos, we have got you covered here. Oh, that one's spawned in without a sign. How disappointing. More taco vans. Oh, and another one has come to join in. Yeah, now as I said, we have seen this prairies upside down, ruiners are being monster trucks through here. I have seen these spawning in glitches. They normally sort themselves out after a little while and never to this extent. This just keeps going. There's about 2-3 minutes of this going on and it keeps getting worse. More and more vehicles keep piling on. Now we're starting to have problems because buses are spawning in here. The just sea of cars is actually being gradually pushed towards the player who's parked up watching this. I mean, it might be the weirdest, craziest spawning in problems I've seen GTA do. It is now properly stacking up. They're about 3 or 4 cars high with buses being piled on top. There's an AI just got out of the car and is crouching on the mound of vehicles. I would not want to be there because you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen with this many cars on top of one another, and it doesn't even have to be player-induced either. At no point does the other player have to help the inevitable massive explosion that is going to go on here, and there it goes. Cars everywhere. The player gets chased by a flaming ruiner. It would have been brilliant if the ruiner managed to land on the comet. I mean, it cleared out some of the vehicles. It's still not stopped being confused as to how to spawn stuff in and just throwing buses into the mix. And now we've started that infamous chain reaction explosion. They're rare on GTA 5, you can get them going, we've seen some quite impressive ones, and this one of course with stuff still being spawned into this mix does just keep going. Things blow up constantly, buses are being fired into this, and anything that survives initially will probably be exploded by a secondary one somewhere along the way. So, and that is one of the most impressive spawning in issues I have seen to date. Jamjar Hastings up next on Forza Motorsport 7, the start of the race at one of the nasty Suzuka layouts. Now watch the, I think it's an Opel Kadett ahead, gets a terrible start, too much wheel spin, slides towards the grass. They do then get going in the secondary phase. Everyone gets a bit sandwiched. The Elise decides to go underneath. It was helped by a Ford hot rod that gave it a bit of a push underneath. The cadet just got lifted up and dumped out of the... Wasn't a good start for the poor cadet in that one. A cataclysmic fish on Horizon 4 is racing off towards Edinburgh when a tram decides, nope. So the play goes for a rewind as well from a really weird tram change of position and it still does it. Tram is perfectly happy one side of the road, but as the player arrives, just leaps across in front of the Zenvo. As if Zenvos aren't difficult enough to drive as it is. Inferno the Fox up next on a GT Sport. This was from a stream a while ago, actually. Where we're racing the Toyota Tundra pickup trucks. Notice one of the blue trucks is a little bit laggy, and the game decides to rectify this by making it fly and then dumping it back down in between a couple of other vehicles. It's not really ideal. It's surprisingly manages to position itself kind of okay in all of this. It kind of jumps over the white truck and pings itself back. Bit of weirdness. Weird lag-related shenanigans. I mean, it's difficult enough to drive as it is, let alone when they're pinging around randomly. Panda Wipeout up next on Wreckfest, driving one of the mod circuits, finding out why it is dangerous to car hat somebody. While it is quite funny when it goes right, when it goes wrong, you can kind of get stuck together, merged together. Amazingly, the player doesn't come out of this as bad as they could have done here. Often you lose a huge amount of time doing that. It's only a little bit in the long run. Royal Ace 2000 on Grid 2 has noticed, I mean, the most impressive car hat to date. Yes, there are two vehicles somehow managing to balance on top of one vehicle that's upside down. Well done. Like, that is some seriously impressive dedication to making the most spectacular crash possible, I think, right there. Certainly, again, another one. Not seen that one before. Turbo Toddler on Spin Tires Mudrunner is, well, playing around with the winch. We know the winch does silly things, and it turns out if you have a bump into each other with the larders, with a winch connected, it becomes a big old elastic band and flings stuff around. The winch, one of the cars has got off to space. The one we're following actually lands on top of one of the Ford pickup trucks and wrecks that as well. So 3 cars killed with one glitchy winch. Yeah, winches are dangerous on that game, for sure. And finally, Little Wizard on Assassin's Creed Odyssey is learning that boats, they are not immune to the curse of Will It Roll, because yes, this great Greek naval warship that can fly through the air with the best of them. I think it's about 6 or 7 rolls it managed. Amazingly, all the Spartans stayed on the boat. That's some advanced tactics right there to manage. Everyone's fine. Nobody mentioned the flying boat that we just managed. I think it was a bit of debris came off the other boat that freaked out the physics, but still, that's an impressive flight. It could have gone a lot worse if it landed back in the water. After all, if it landed in the city, would have been interesting to see. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. As ever, if you have clips you'd like to submit to this series, then you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description of this video. At the very top of the page is the FailRace clip submission section, and in there you can find all of the rules and how to submit them. However, that is going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.